So. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the good old Angry Nation with your favorite Angry American. And as always, Mr. Bob T. Toombs of Mountain Readiness and Sularoo and Tactical Rifleman. Emery is dealing with a family emergency right now, and so we're not sure what's up. We're waiting to hear from him. But we're mixing tonight. We're mixing the Angry American Nation with the Bear Nation, which is a lot of crossover there, probably 100%, my guess, as it is. What's up, Bear?
What's up, bro? How are you?
Good, man. How you been? What's going on in the Bear Nation? I mean, I track your videos and watch your stuff, but just anything new, anything fun. I mean, we can't talk about the fun stuff we were just talking about, but
no, we can't talk about that. Fun? But you know when like people put a bunch of irons in the fire, right? And the reason you typically put a bunch of irons in the fire is like 3 or 4 of them are not going to work out. Yeah, that didn't happen with us. So I have 7 irons that we're all just trying to pound and quench at the same time. So between the businesses and the ministries, it's 100-hour weeks consistently. But everything's good, man. The Father's been good to us. Refuge Medical, Refuge Training, Grindstone, and Caleb House are kind of like the big 4. And then, of course, Bear Independent, here on the internet. And it all kind of stemmed from Bear Independent back in the day. Had this stupid little YouTube channel because people were giving bad prepping advice. And I was like, I should probably make a video. It was really my wife. She was like, hey, you should talk about that. Like, yeah, I don't want to make a video. She's like, then shut up. Like, all right, I have to make a video.
I remember your early videos, man. I remember way back in the day. Like, I remember when construction started and going through it. You were still shooting with green board and Romex hanging from the ceiling.
They were terrible. They were terrible. They're still bad. I mean, I have the worst production quality on the internet. I just never. This is the same camera that I've been using for 5 years that a patron sent me. Like, I've just never upgraded anything. But here we are. Here we are.
and here we are for sure. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm just starting to upgrade stuff. I've got lights and a camera. This is a crazy camera. It's not like a production quality camera. It's an actual webcam, but it's a little bitty thing, and it'll track and do all this stuff if you want it to. But I have to turn all that off. But it's a nice 4K camera. So,
do you cover it with a Post-it note like that Facebook guy does, Zuckerberg?
No, when this one turns off, it points itself down, so you can't see nothing.
That's cool. Yeah. I always feel like I should cover all my cameras up, but I don't. And so the NSA probably has thousands of hours of film of me, which is cool.
Oh, they do for your TV and everything else, bro. I stopped worrying about that years ago. Although I do still hunt hidden networks and things like that. I've got some equipment that lets me look for signals. I've got spectrum analyzers and other stuff, so I'm always looking for signals because I live in the boonies like you do, dude. So I know what signals are around me.
Mm-hmm.
Not like in the boonies like Sue and T. They live up in the hollers in the mountains. I live in the swamps of Florida, so
all those with the moonshine steels, and I married my cousin and sister and whatever. Yeah, it's in those areas. I mean, it happens, right?
We go to family reunions to pick up chicks
all the time.
Sue's family tree's got a transformer hanging on the top of it. Dude, what do you
First
this
week,
man?
That's a good
I
one.
need to talk to you. Oh, that's an original of mine when I worked for the power company. I came up with that.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. I'm going to use that now and again.
What are you been up to this week, Stu? I didn't talk to you none, man. Or T.
He's off in his own world.
Yeah, he is.
Right. Yes, he's doing his thing.
What the hell you been up to then?
How about you, Sue?
I'm doing real well. I spent the weekend in down by Fayetteville or by Fort Bragg, but now it's Fort Liberty. And
no, it's Fort Bragg. Don't ever say that again. It's Fort Bragg.
Yeah, Special Forces lost one of their icons, Billy Waugh, the guy who wrote Hunting the Jackal, passed away at 93 years old down there in Florida, where you're at.
Yeah. And
he actually had 3 memorials, one in Ballstrip, Texas, one down there in Tampa, where SOCOM headquarters is at. And then this Saturday, we jumped in his ashes to Rayford Drop Zone because Billy Waugh was also back when he was a Green Beret in Vietnam, he was one of the first people to actually do a combat infiltration using the halo technique, high altitude, low opening, that commonly called skydiving nowadays, so.
And now we've got Emery in the house. And look at that fine setup.
What's
He's
up,
looking good. Look at that, man. He's all slick.
No, you stop it. Stop it some more. Come on.
Freshly. I mean, he's sharp. Sharp.
Oh, stop it. Well, I just got home after 3 weeks out, and so I had to, unhobo myself. Here, how you doing, brother? I haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah, Waco, bro. It's been since Waco, I think.
In a minute.
Good.
Yep.
How are you?
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, we need to get together again.
Yes, sir. Yeah, let's do it for sure. We got to check out one of Bear's classes, and it was right before like a 5 or 6 day class that we did. And man, I tell you, people don't run medical training like that. And I think, a lot of people give really good information, but people don't get you amped up, and they don't get you to essentially get, as we call it, schnitzeled in the dirt and stuff, and then have to do your stuff.
I did one of his classes in Tallahassee. That was at a hotel, and even in a conference room, they know how to put people under pressure. In a conference room in a hotel, it was unique, very unique what you guys did, Bear. And to see the look on people's faces the first time they come in, they got like an airsoft gun, and they'll start just clapping off rounds, telling people, you've been hit, get your tourniquet on now. And they all just sit there kind of look around. And I'm like, what? We're like, no, this is the scenario. Go. And so it was really good, man.
Well, I appreciate that. It's like I take TACMED for granted now. Like I don't even. There's so much automaticity. I don't even think about it anymore. And so you forget the things that you've mastered, how new they might be to somebody else, right? Like what the barriers to entry might be for somebody else. To me, it's a no-brainer because we've trained like 3,500 people in the last couple of years on the road, and we've just done it so many times. I don't think about it anymore. But when you see somebody who's brand new to it, and a lot of them are like I'm the thin line in between civility and chaos kind of, operator dudes, and, the shades and the CCW and the whole nine, and you fire 3 rounds with an airsoft gun and everybody freezes. It's like, I thought half of y'all were carrying. What's going on? And so just breaking people out of their normalcy, because you're not, an emergency is by its very nature abnormal, right? Like It's not going to be a calm day at the office when somebody gets shot or something blows up or there's a car wreck. So rather, when Carl and Emery first showed up to that class at Waco, they pull in and they're leaning up on the bumper and they're just laughing. I'm like, what's up? And Carl goes, dude, what unit is this, dude? I'm like, it's not a unit. They're civilians. He goes, holy shit, those are civilians? I'm like, yeah. And they paid us to do this to them. And then they just laughed even more. That's what we do, right? We have to induce some stress so that you actually find out where the line is for you, what condition black looks like for you, and you can develop the reps under stress, because if you can't do it under stress, it doesn't matter. So
very true.
That's what I got on that.
That's like when Alan and I did the book Decline and Decay together, we put a whole chapter in there about pressure testing your kit, pressure testing yourself, pressure testing your friends, your team members. Because you never really know how you're going to react unless you've been pressure tested. Not that Sue or Emery or even T know anything about pressure testing. Those guys have lived soft lives, and and it shows. It does.
Well, most people haven't, though.
I've done pressure testing, man. I used to weld parallel plate heat exchangers for a living. I had to test those for pressure every day.
Keyboard warrior anymore. My lanolin hands,
My lanolin hands.
I got a little dirt. They did.
I've been divorced 4 times. I know what pressure is. You guys got nothing on
I'm right there with you, brother. Unfortunately.
It's just easy. No, just keep her. Plus, I still like her, so I'm gonna just keep her. And I know you're watching. So what else is up, Bear? I mean, we'll get into more stuff later, but what other kind of fun stuff have you been up to, man?
So we're building a restoration facility for juvenile human trafficking survivors, which is pretty cool. And we got convicted to do that a couple years ago because we were actually working at another restoration facility, but it started with, hey, can you come and help us repair some of our floors? Sure. We're construction-y. We got a bunch of guys that are construction-y. We have tools. We'll show up and help. And then ultimate scope creep. Instead of doing like the floors in one half of a building, we ended up doing we touched everything on property. Just dozens of acres, dozens of buildings, the well, the septic, all the electrical, the HVAC, the roofs, everything. And while we were there doing that, just got super convicted. Like there has to be more of these. There has to be a place to put kids back together again. And so we started our second 501c3 because I wasn't busy enough to begin with. And so we founded Caleb House, which is a juvenile restoration, human trafficking survivor restoration facility. And that was the plan was we're going to build this facility and then we'll staff this civility. And then when kids get rescued, there'll be a DHS sanctioned place that they can go to so they can recover. And we don't have a time limit on our program because I'm not going to tell a 4-year-old they have a year to get their shit together before I kick them out again, right? So that was the plan. Build the building, build the team, put those together, bring kids in after the fact, and then restore them. But the father had other plans, and we got a phone call, and it was somebody who knew somebody who needed help. So we wanted to check that out, go investigate that phone call. 3 hours later, one of my guys who was on the ground is like, I need an extraction team now. Okay. So I called some friends. We hopped in a truck. We go do an extraction, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one, because the first extraction led to the third, led to the second, which led to the third, and start uncovering this ring. And so we've had to set up a network of safe sites and staff those, with security personnel and victim services personnel and the whole nine. And so now we have 24 kids ages 1 to 19 without having the facility to put them in yet. But I still think it was the right thing to do because I don't think I could live with myself knowing that we had the opportunity to go and then we didn't, if that makes sense. So building Caleb House, still doing Grindstone stuff. We got Grindstone is our disaster relief ministry. So after hurricanes and tornadoes and the like, we just wheels up and go help. We don't charge the homeowner. We don't charge the county or the state, or we don't take FEMA money. We're just all privately supported. Show up with heavy equipment and chainsaws and food and field kitchens and just bless people to the best of our ability. And we typically look for the people who last week didn't know how they were going to buy groceries and this week don't have a house anymore, right? Because the people that have insurance, they're going to be okay. Minor inconvenience. A tree fell through my house. Here's some vouchers for the hotel down the street. The insurance adjuster will come out. You'll get a check. Your house will be rebuilt. No insurance. That's a whole nother ball game, man. And most of the time the vehicles are smashed and all the infrastructure is destroyed. And so we go in there and we do what we can to help. And what's cool is that you talk about pressure testing is that it creates an opportunity for people who are interested in preparedness to come and be a blessing to somebody else, to come and do good shit, but also pressure test their systems. Bring your bug out bag and live out of it for 10 days. You'll find out real quick what you need and what you don't need, right? And so, we do that. We do refuge stuff, and I talk at the internet, which is what we're doing this evening. So how about you? What have you been up to? I haven't seen you in a couple of years.
Just writing books, man, and then life happening. We're trying to get this thing made into a TV show, and that's got some roadblocks at the moment that I'm trying to unblock. Started that today, by the way, Holly, just so you know that conversation. And we started this podcast with these guys because it's a great group of guys. T, why don't you tell Bear about what we got going on in October and what we're doing moving forward with that thing, because it'd be a great opportunity for Bear's folks to show up and set up a booth as well.
Cool.
For sure. So, long story short, I am not an ex-military guy, anything like that. Just the average Joe who grew up in a more simplistic lifestyle. for the first 15 years of life. But you know, my wife and I moved here.
That's really watering that down.
Yes, yeah. No electricity, no running water, middle of nowhere until I was
No
15
house.
when I left home, and
Yeah.
no house, living in tents, cooking on campfires. Pretty much those survivors barely surviving. You know, you'd be surprised what the human body can get used to when it has to, right? We all know that. It's and testing that pressure testing, that was kind of a normal thing for us, you know, but what you guys are talking about there with the pressure testing, that's exactly what everybody needs to do. So, and I have gotten, you know, soft over these past few years of sitting in front of computer screens and turning light switches on and off. But mountain readiness was something my wife Amber and I put together, kind of the same thing that you were talking about. We saw a lot of people doing a lot of stuff on TikTok that was dangerous and you shouldn't be teaching people. And we are not experts by any means. We put this together to bring like-minded people together to learn from each other and build community and make those connections that are next. It's necessary because the lone wolf thing doesn't work. We all know that you can't do it all. And so much in this day and age, people get the blinders of a mindset. I'm a prepper. I'm a bushcrafter. I'm a tactical guy. I'm a, you know, whatever. I'm a homesteader. And so last May, we decided to put on an event that consisted of bringing all these different individuals together in one spot. We had the tactical, we had Chris and his guys, we had homesteaders from Homesteader from America, we had bushcrafters, we had preppers, brought them all one place and said, hey, look, you know, look what all this common ground that we have that you guys are missing out on by, you know, secluding yourself to just this one group. So it went off pretty good for the first one, I think. And so now we're going to do it yearly, and we are trying to do one in the middle of the year as well, which is October the 20th through the 22nd. We'll be releasing everything July 31st, Monday, for tickets and all the classes. And we'd love to have you out there. If you have a free moment, it's Harmony, North Carolina. Got a 106-acre campground there that we do all the stuff at. And check your calendar if you can make it out. Man, we'd love to have you set up, promote what you're doing. I mean, you're doing some great stuff.
I appreciate that. Hey, do you have a website for that? Is there a link?
We do. www.mountainreadiness.com.
Mountainreadiness.com. Very cool.
All together. We're going to call it Appalachian Readiness, but we found out people can't spell it. So we're like, just go with Mountain Readiness.
That's no shit. You know what you should do? You should start a YouTube channel and name it Bear Independent and see how many angry emails you get. Yeah. I tried to email you. Okay, well, what was the email address? It was BAREENDUHNP_PQ.org. Like, no shit if I didn't get your email because spelling's hard.
We're still having problems now and again with readiness. You know, people's like READYNE. I'm like, well, almost. You know, got it.
I'm curious, how many questions do y'all get where it's like, you know, for better or worse, Google's a thing. You know, like it would have taken far less time to punch that shit into Google instead of like, hey Bear, you know, what's the max velocity in unladen barn swallow? Like, I have no idea. You know, ask Google.
Yeah, and ask what the velocity was for a laden swallow. I would have known that. But an unladen one, I had no idea how fast they could fly.
Yeah, all of my barn swallows are birds of burden, so I've never had an unladen one before. So. Yeah, you guys run into that? You get those questions a lot too?
Oh, yeah. Hey, and Embry, since I'm going to go around the table here, we had Bob or T do his. There's a lot of folks watching don't know who the hell we are tonight. Some of us, anyway, for sure. And so go ahead and tee off, Embry. We're going to let you give out your spiel, and then we're going to take a little break, come back, and we're going to have Sue do his, and then we're going to get into some cooler stuff to talk about.
You mean I can talk about myself again?
Yeah, we want you to talk about yourself again. You know,
damn it, Chris.
What you're always talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so those of you guys who don't know me, I'm Emery, as you can see, right? Where is it? Right there. Yeah. So what I do is I do training, and I have my own company. Prime Combat Training. I also train with that weird guy with a crooked nose down at the bottom of the picture. So Sue and I do a lot of stuff with tactical riflemen. So that is a crew run primarily by my good friend Carl Erickson, and so we have a YouTube channel and all that Carl really started it years ago to get people to come in and put asses in seats, to get people to come train. And it kind of turned into a monster, but our thing is training. So we do the spectrum of firearms training and combatives and CQB and medical and long range and that kind of jazz. So that's what we do. We also do a lot of military law enforcement things. But yeah, that's our deal. And we have, I think one of the things that kind of sets us apart is, there's so much squareness in our training industry in the States, right? And this actually connects really well with Bear's whole situation because, because the way they run training is how training needs to be, right? Once you get your fundamentals down, you got to, to use your words, pressure test it. Mm-hmm. And that's actually something that Carl's been working very hard on, as he says, rounding my corners off, because that's all I knew, right? Coming into this in the civilian world is, all right, yeah, cool. You want to come training? Awesome. It's going to be a long day of suffering and you're going to come out better. Well, it turns out a lot of you guys don't want that.
No. Everybody wants to do cool guy shit till it's time to do cool guy shit. So
exactly. Nothing about doing cool guy shit is actually cool.
No, or fun. Fun.
Suffering's the name of the game. But yeah, so one of the cool things is that we've gotten to have this kind of holistic approach to it, right? I mean, we have people like one of my best friends, Rawson Hristoff, who is just, I think, the best firearms instructor, period, end of story. Throw the rest of the book away because there is none. Yeah, so we work with him a lot. I've learned, man, he has shifted my entire paradigm of not only shooting, but training in general, understanding your students, that kind of thing. So, whether I'm working one-on-one privately with someone or a class or, a SOCOM team, right? That's stuff that we've now brought in also from the competition / philosophical world. Makes a giant difference. And then you put that in the pot together with mixing combatives, knife fighting, whatever on the range, you're getting this big picture. Driving.
Yeah, that's the one I want to do next time with you guys. But hey, we're going to take a quick second for the necessary shameless plugs, guys. Bear with us. There won't be many of them. And we're going to knock this out real quick. And we'll be right back in just a second.
Let's talk food storage real quick. Now, I know you guys have seen this stuff in other places, but I actually ordered this. They didn't give it to me, and I was a customer before I became an affiliate with them. This stuff's fantastic. First, it tastes really good. Brickhouse Field of Greens, and I really like the berry. This is actually my favorite, the berry flavored one. With this, you get to replace all the vitamins and minerals that are lost through the preservation process. So you want to find a way to supplement that. One scoop of Brickhouse Field of Greens is your daily serving of fruits and vegetables. Cool thing about the Brickhouse Field of Greens like these, and they have other products too, but this will fit right in the rucksack. One scoop out of this mixed in a glass of water is your daily serving of fruits and vegetables. These things are chock full of superfoods. And this is not a supplement. Brickhouse is food. Check out Brickhouse at the link below, guys. Buy something, give it a shot. I'm a fan. I use it. I think you guys could too.
I hate watching myself on camera more than I can speak. I don't even like the sound of my own voice. Thank you, Bear. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. Like, we'll do a video. Mel will go to watch it later, and I'm just like, turn that off. Get away from me. I don't want nothing to do with that, like, at all. So
I think the people that like hearing
I think we all do.
Those people need to not be anywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, then I get chastised by Amber. She was like, could you not sit there and watch yourself? I'm like, I'm literally just trying to figure out how to not sound stupid on the video next time.
Oh,
she's like, no, that's not what it is.
I just caught the reminder that flashed across the screen. There we go, guys. So we do a giveaway tonight. We're going to give away a IFAK from Refuge Medical from Bear. And the way we do this is you have to type a hashtag into the comments. You type it, and then it's an automatic draw. We don't do it. Tonight's hashtag is Coke in the White House. Not that that would ever happen under any circumstances, or a guy die in a former president's backyard and there'd be no video footage of any of these things in modern day America. We live in fantasy land. There it is. Right there's what you guys are getting. You're registering to win tonight. StreamYard will pick the winner, and Bear will ship it out. And Bear, let me know what it costs to ship and everything. I'll take care of you. But we appreciate you doing it, man.
I got an entire shipping department, homie. It ain't a thing. And also, it's going to be literally this Bear Fac lived outside for a year. Pressure test, right? This thing, rain, sleet, sun, hail, all of it. I just left this one outside for a year just to see what would happen to it. Nothing. It's fine. So this is literally the one you're going to get. And for all the Bear fanboys out there, you can sniff it. It kind of smells like me now. So, if you want to snuggle up next to it at night, it's all you. I would prefer you use it to save a life, but whatever you're into, homie.
And FYI,
I got to ask you. So that smell, is that cigar and desperation?
It's kind of. There's a little bit of whiskey in there as well. But
I had an entirely different idea of what that might smell like, but I'm not going to say it.
So listen, the a-holes inside of my company have been trying to get me to get a life-size bear pillow in the store forever, and I won't do it because some weirdo is going to poke a hole in it in the wrong spot and cuddle up next to it. I'm not for having
No,
that.
it's definitely that would happen.
Yeah.
Just ruin that pillow. Just ruin it.
Anybody that would buy a life-size bear pillow you should already be on a watch list as far as I'm concerned.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make you a full-size thing. It's gonna be called the Prickly Bear.
Prickly Bear.
Because he wasn't there.
Oh God! Hey, well, Sue, let's give these fine folks a little bit of your background so that they all know who you are as well. So
yeah, I'm the only handsome one in the group, Bear. So anyway,
your facial hair deficit is noticeable, and
because I don't have to hide my ugliness like the rest of you guys. So anyway, now I retired from. I was in the A15 in 5th group with Carl Erickson, and I went back to 10th group, and the military has been a lot more woke than people think for quite a while, and I ended up calling a certain individual on an email. I said former action guy, but they use the acronym, and I got in trouble back in 2010. So let's just say that I did acquisitions after that, but I lucked out, and they said, "Hey, you're the worst commo guy the Army ever produced, so we're gonna give you weapons and ammunition." I said, "Oh, thank you. Can I have another? Let's spank me again. I'll do that." All right. So the PSR, a lot of ammunition intakes, getting the entire military to use suppressors, even on belt feds, things like that. That was what I did until I retired up around 2016, and then I worked in the ammunition market after that. So you talk about dumb questions, and hey, why don't you guys just Google it? They're like, how fast does that? Why? What's the difference between a 270 and a 6.8? And the way one's measured by inches and one's measured by the metric system. Come on, okay, figure it out. So that kind of thing. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And then Carl invited me to come back into tactical rifleman, and that's where I met Emory, and I've found my life calling, and my number one function in life is to irritate Emory Morgenstein. So
you're incredibly good at it.
He is actually, and not just to Emory. It's a gift that Sue possesses for most people he's around. But at the end of the day, we all love him. We do.
By the way, on that note, let me say this publicly for the whole world to hear, because my secondary job is also aggravating Sue LaRue. So let me give you guys the best ammunition you can ever get. All you have to do to really piss off Sue is say, "Sue, I love you, man." Watch that face.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
You're welcome, internet.
You're welcome, internet. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
like Carl and a hug. You know,
Yeah.
Yes.
If they're
that's how you can get on Carl's nerves in a hurry. Trying to give him a
Go
hug.
together.
Yeah. So
We need to
Bear,
see
real
this in the
quick-
comments too. A bunch of "I love you Sue's" popping up.
Oh yeah,
Where are all these?
there's-
Where are all these "I love you
yeah.
Sue" comments?
We
That's
should have
what I
made
was
that the
thinking.
Yeah,
hashtag
like-
tonight. Shit.
if there wasn't enough
That's
porn
awesome.
on the internet, thanks a lot.
Oh,
Good job.
That,
Good job.
actually, whoever just said that's a brilliant idea. Our next giveaway is going to be hashtag I love you, Sue.
There you
Or
go.
Sue,
I love you, Sue.
Yeah.
But you have to spell Sue right, or you don't
You
get
do
the
have
you
to
don't get the gift.
Hey, look, it's hard for a boy named Sue. You know what I'm saying? I'm just,
Mm.
Well, it's actually pretty fashionable now in 2023.
yeah. If your dad was a hipster,
Back in 1963, when I was born, it
Damn, that was brutal.
Johnny Cash made a song about it. Yeah.
so
A damn
So-
hipster. Ooh.
yeah, if your dad's a hipster, he'll name you Sue or some shit like that.
Can
Uh,
hipsters even have children? Is that possible biologically? I don't
I don't know,
know.
but
Identify.
It's
they
probably
reproduce?
something about a feeding schedule and bath time and getting them mixed up, and they just sprout more. Like
What's
mold.
that biology class shit where like a cell splits off and forms another cell, right? And they're identical. I think that's how hipsters reproduce. It's like a
Maybe it's
baby
it goes
hipster
back
just
to the
grows out of their
amoeba.
leg. Yeah,
It's just the
something like that.
amoeba thing, like all the hair gel and beard oil they use, and somehow it starts growing and it crawls out and it turns into a hipster, just like that.
Turns into a hipster. I wanted to ask you one thing, Bear. You said you guys were in process with Caleb House. Like, where are you at in that process? Like,
So we bought a piece of land, and we bought a piece of land a year and a half ago out in the county, and it's out in the county, out in the middle of nowhere. Turns out that particular county is a pain in the ass, and it took a year to get approval to put a water spigot in. And I was like, well, that's going to be a problem because we have to do a lot more than put a water spigot in. So, pivot. We bought another piece of land. We're in the process of selling the first piece of land. We've closed on the second piece of land, and we start dirt work there in 2 weeks. We're putting up a barn first, a 40 by 80, 19-foot high wall barn with concrete slab. We'll put a barn door inside of it. The wall height is intentional, so we can put a 2-story barn door inside of it for a caretaker. And when I say caretaker, think like, guy with a weed whacker with an AR on his back kind of thing. That's what I mean by caretaker.
a proper caretaker. Yes.
A proper caretaker. Hey, Sue, when you're not busy, come on out. But it's in the middle of nowhere, which is awesome. And so we bought the land. We've already bought the barn kit. A member of the Bear Nation donated us the use of his dozer for the dirt work, which is awesome. We've got the
Wow.
dozer, so we're just about ready to press play there. We have to do some road work because the road going in is not great, but I'll take it. And then we're in the
It's not a
process of
benefit.
it is, and I'll Emery, at some point I'll show you the location. You do a little map recon on it, but it's phenomenal as from a
Nice.
security standpoint. It's phenomenal.
Nice.
So anywho, we're about 2 weeks out from breaking ground there. We just did a Whiskey with Bear fundraiser down in Dallas, which I'm an idiot. I didn't realize that there would be that much talking. And then everybody on my staff reminded me, hey, asshole, it's called Whiskey with Bear. What did you think it was going to be? So I talked for 5 hours, but as a result, we raised a little bit of funds, but we also got a commitment for an in-kind donation for all of the electrical on property, which is huge. And also the paint. So materials and labor on electrical and materials and labor on paint, which is badass. Because
Hell yeah.
we're gonna have the barn and then what we call the big house. And the big house is a large building that on 2-story building on the ground floor has medical rooms in it, one of which has to be used for a SANE exam, which is a very unfortunately named exam for essentially what's called a rape kit. And that has to be done in a controlled environment by a medical professional overseen by a badged officer of the law, so that we have a clear chain of custody on that that evidence. Otherwise, no clear chain of custody. We can't use that to prosecute assholes after the fact, right? So a couple of different medical rooms, a law enforcement room, an office for our on-staff attorney, an office for our on-staff trauma therapist, offices for the victim services people, which is a fancy way of saying the people who basically facilitate for these kiddos, make sure they got everything that they need. A classroom, kitchen, blah, blah, blah. And then the upstairs is live-in quarters for the executive director on property, because I think it's really important that the executive director live on property. The first reason is from a security standpoint. If you're constantly coming and going from a place, just that traffic can attract attention. And unfortunately, some of the people that we take these kids from view these children as their product. And in some cases, they want to get their product back. I'm not welcoming a gunfight, but also FAFO. Like, you're not getting these kids back. We're just not doing that. So by having the director and the caretaker and all of our white collar professionals on site, rather than having to take the kids to them all the time, they have offices there. They can come and go as needed, and then the kids can see them as needed. So that's what we
awesome.
call the, thank you. That's what we call the big house. And then we're doing the care house, the house parents model. So we will have multiple footprints of essentially the same house that has living quarters for a man and his wife and up to 6 children in each house, including like a classroom in each house for homeschooling, whatever you might have. And on this property, we can fit 10 to 12 care houses on property.
Wow.
And my goal is to get 60 more beds up with this first facility, because DHS, Department of Homeland Security, is the federal agency that has oversight on human trafficking in the United States of America. Anybody who's a day less than 18 years old or younger is a juvenile human trafficking survivor. Because they're not an adult, they don't have autonomy, they fall under the jurisdiction of DHS at a federal level. So every facility that is going to house these kids has to adhere to the DHS standards. Cool. Ours exceed those standards. In this country, in the entire country, there are currently 420 total DHS sanctioned beds in the entire country. 83,000 kids per month go missing, and we have 420 beds total. So the first Caleb house, which is what we are building now, we aim to get 60 beds online. Then after we build that one, I'm going to build another one and another one and another one. And I want to be the Ronald McDonald of aftercare facilities for anti-human trafficking. And I'm just going to keep building these places. We, the Bear Nation, has been instrumental in this. We are just going to keep building these places until we don't need them anymore, till we've worked ourselves out of a job, because we believe deeply in breaking generational curses. Hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And the recidivism rate, somebody who was abused as a child, it's well into the 90th percentile that they themselves will become a victimizer rather than a victim if you don't correct that behavior when they're younger. So it's a two-pronged approach. The first is with the children. We need to put those kids back together again. They've had mental, physical, emotional, spiritual trauma because of what has happened to them. We got to fix that. And I am not the guy for that. I don't know how to do that, but I do know how to network with the people that do know how to do that. And we're doing that. We got to put the kids back together so that they don't become a problem when they're older. And that's the first prong. The second prong is every offender in the United States, which the United States is #1 in the world for this bullshit. Every offender is statistically responsible for 82 victims. Not 82 incidents, not 82 crimes, 82 victims statistically. And so we also need to jam up bad guys as much as we can. So we need to jam up bad guys as much as we can and fix as many kids as possible until this problem goes away. And that might be in what the entrepreneurial space they call a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. Sue me.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better thing to point myself towards than that, right? I don't know of another thing that's more impactful than that. And so that's the overarching strategic vision of what Caleb House is. We're not building a house, we're building a future for these kids. And while we're in the process of building that, we are also simultaneously on the back end. We've built a damn good civilian S2 shop, and we integrate with a lot of people from the federal level on down to the local level to make sure that bad shit happens to bad people, so that the people who are out there perpetrating this bullshit, they get what's coming to them. And we don't, on open channels, we don't talk a lot about that because means and methods can't be exposed, because I don't want the bad guys to know how we do that. But we do, and that's super cool. And we've been blessed to partner with people from pick an agency, pick an organization, pick a unit, people who have reached out on their own time, on their own dime. We want to help you do what you do, and that's incredibly humbling. That's the jam up bad guys course of action. The other one, fix kids course of action, is where Caleb House, the facility, comes into play. And we're currently fundraising to raise the 1.5 million it's going to take to build out the big house and the first care home. And we actually have coming up in Fort Smith, Arkansas, March 8th through 10th of next year. So springtime, we're doing the Refuge Ruckus, and it's a 3-day event. So it'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On Friday, we'll have speakers, vendors, presenters, food, live music, the whole nine, kind of like a prepper con kind of thing, right? People can get together, hang out, exchange information. You know, if they want to buy a knife or a bug out bag or whatever, they can do that. And we'll have people, you know, speaking, presenting, blah, blah, blah. Saturday for us is a day of rest. So if people want to get together and read the word with us, they can. If they don't, cool. Hang out in your hotel room, go see the city, whatever you want to do. Sunday morning, we ruck. And we are rucking right through downtown Fort Smith, Arkansas. And the average age of a juvenile human trafficking victim is 12 years old. And the average weight of a 12-year-old is 101 pounds. And so I'm carrying 50 and a half. I got a brother who's carrying the other 50 and a half. And we're going to encourage as many people as we can to sign up for the ruckus. And the idea is you and your circle of influence, you get people to sponsor you for this ruck. We ruck through downtown. If people say, I'll give you $10 a mile, and you ruck 5 miles, that's $50, right? And it's a fundraiser for Caleb House. We're going to take those funds, turn around and put them right into the construction budget for building the facility. So that's a long-winded answer to your short question, but that's what we're doing at Caleb House. The idea here is to break generational curses, fix these kids, because everybody focuses on the rescue, and they should. Rescue's important, but they focus on the rescue because it's the sexy shit. Let's throw our plate carriers on. We'll stack up on this door. We'll bang the door. We'll run in. We'll grab the bad guys, grab the kids. Everybody high fives. We go drink a few beers, and that's the end of it. But what do I do with this kid?
Yeah, that's like the prepper community's concept of the IFAC, right? They think that since they've got their IFAC, they're always good to go, with no concept of aftercare. Like, if I got to put a tourniquet on something or somebody, how do I then, without a higher level of care, convert that tourniquet later? And most people don't even know what that term means, let alone how to do it. And again, so for everybody watching, because I know a lot of Bears folks are in here, I'm going to say we do a show after this too. It's through my Patreon, and you can join it for $1 and then cancel it. I don't care if you guys want to come in. It's called On the Rocks. We do it on Rumble. So that'll be coming up, and we run a quick little promo so you guys can see that, and we'll do that real quick and we'll be right back.
The First Amendment says freedom of speech. It doesn't say unless it hurts somebody's feelings. Haven't had enough yet? Stick around for the after show. Bolder, grittier, angrier. On the Rocks with Angry American and the Gang is coming up next.
Well, Bear's gone. He'll be back. He probably ran to the head.
Out.
Oh, man. Where were you this week, Emery? Were you?
Where was I?
Were you
Man,
out and about?
I'm always out and about. You know, I come home for I give my dog a high five and then I'm off to the next thing. But we had actually kind of an interesting week that I did want to bring up. I had Rawson out here for a couple of weeks actually beforehand, and we were doing training. We were actually specifically preparing for a training that I have coming up for a military unit. Where I have to be teaching a lot of Rawson stuff. So we've been doing a lot of prep. We have some cool new things that we're going to be putting out to the public soon. But then we went right from there into a 3-day class that we just ran called High Risk Travel. And so that just got done. I just got home from that. And that's a pretty cool, unusual thing that we do. So it's kind of teaching people how to travel places in the sense of securing themselves, how to plan, how to pack, all that stuff. There's a lot of classroom stuff in the beginning, but then we get into how do you plan routes? How do you go about your business? And how do you detect if you're being surveilled, what to do about it? We do some handcuff picking and getting out of various things. We call that escapology. So we do a lot of that. And to be honest, I mean, that's not the most useful thing, but everybody wants it. Why wouldn't we do the fun stuff too?
Well, that's not a very useful thing until you find yourself in restraints. Then it's a critical skill.
Well, I'm not gonna destroy one of our final exercises in the class by spreading it all over the internet. But you know, you're gonna be put in some uncomfortable situations, very controlled, and you know, I think the biggest thing isn't to get stuck somewhere and handcuffed and duct taped and bag over your head and everything in a confined space. The idea isn't even to get out as a starting point. The idea is more just let yourself embrace the suck, be okay with it now because you're in a safe environment with us watching over your shoulder, making sure you're good to go, and start feeling okay with things like that so that you can start calming yourself down and actually get yourself out. Because when you freak out, nothing happens. It's just circling right back around to what Bear was saying about the pressure testing, right? That's what all training is. If you don't do it under conditions of adrenal activation, don't do it. Don't bother.
Yeah, it's like Alan.
And that's what I'll caveat behind Emery there is if you don't institute some kind of realism in your training, or if you half-ass your training, or and we see students goof off and kind of ruin it for everybody else by just turn it into a slapstick comedy hour. If people aren't taking this serious and they don't try to induce some kind of realism into their training, then when the rubber hits the road, they're right back to square one, and emotions usually override their training. So that's just me. And on a quick note, Bear, during that week that Emery was talking about, I had my AR-10 slung over my shoulder while I was weeding the range for Emery and Carl. And I'm covered in chiggers now. So I hope your land out there in Texas, you're right there on the border, chiggers, no chiggers. So hopefully you're in a county where there's no chiggers, because I would rather jump into a pool of white sharks than deal with chiggers.
I'll tell you what, Sue, we'll get 1,000 guinea hens, and you can tend the guinea hen flock that'll eat all the chiggers and ticks so that you won't get bit when you're weed eating with the AR-10 on your back.
Bear, I took you for a smart
of that.
If we're gonna get animals and put Sue in charge of animals, man,
Right.
we gotta send you back to school.
Emery, have you ever seen
I
a
want
guinea
a picture
hen?
of that.
They
Guinea hens with AR-10 and weed eating. I mean, we need a picture.
Guinea hens need nothing from nobody. Like they're
No.
sovereign. They're completely sovereign.
They are.
And they'll let you know about it because they make a lot of noise to let you know that, I'm still here. This is my yard now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My favorite thing about a guinea hen is how it tastes. Other than that, you can keep them. I hate guineas.
They're good on snakes too, though. Man, we used to have them. They will eliminate every snake you have laying around. I mean, they just take everything out. They're killing machines.
The last guinea hen that I had, I killed on camera in the middle of a video because I was trying to read my Bible on camera, and it ran from 150 yards away, got 15 yards from me, got on top of a round bale, and just whap, 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 whap. I was like, you know what? F this. Boom. 185 grain plus P, blew the guinea apart. And it's like, so anyway, back to Matthew chapter 5. Yeah.
Oh God.
May you rest in peace.
Hey, Bear, I want to say one thing, and then I've got something we're going to have Emery talk on for just a minute here too. But
Yes, sir.
But from all of us, I know I can say this: that if you ever need any help with this stuff, you know, Sue's in North Carolina, Emery's usually in Indiana-ish or Kentucky. I'm down here in Florida. More network, you know, as we all do these things. So never hesitate to reach out if there's something that happens in our AO that we can assist with, or if you just need help, just give us a shout, man. Always.
Thank you very much.
No, on that note, Bear, I was going to ask, with your whole description you gave us, you know, it's such an incredible cause. I'm not even talking about Refuge Medical and all those things, which are awesome in just helping people personally, but everything with the Caleb affair that you're doing. How do people watching this go help you? What is needed? How do they reach out? What do they do?
There we go.
Thank you. Caleb with a K, calebhouse.org. And sign up for the newsletter. And if you are convicted to donate, then we would absolutely welcome your donation. If you're not, no sweat. I'm not out here to shill for anything or anybody. And I never want to be one of those guys that, you know, raises $100 million to buy a plane to fly to Africa to preach the word. You know, it's not what I'm about. But right now we're in the fundraising stage for Caleb House, Caleb with a K.org. And we also are welcoming in-kind donations. So if you're a framer, a roofer, an electrician, HVAC technician, concrete guy or girl, lighting specialist, carpets, everything it takes to build a house. I will tell you right now, there is a background check and it's significant. You will have to jump through some hoops because the location of the facility is controlled information. Because again, OPSEC, legitimate OPSEC, not just prepper porn fantasy OPSEC, but it's legitimate operational security. So if you can pass a Roto-Rooter from my analysts who all used to work for no such agency, cool. But we need in-kind donations and we need funds for building materials and construction. And then after that, the next step from there is we need people who are convicted to be house parents. And that's probably the hardest part about what we do, because you live in a house with a kid that's broken and your job is to love them and unbreak them. And that's so overlooked, man. And what Caleb House does is, rather than taking these kids and putting them back into the system, back into the foster care system, or making them state property, putting them into an orphanage, which, by the way, the likelihood that somebody who has been trafficked will be re-trafficked is 77% statistically. So rather than putting them back in that situation, many of them were trafficked from that situation in the first place. We have to have a way to break this generational curse, to break the cycle. And so Caleb House functions as a cutout. Instead of going back into the system, they come over here to us, where we raise them up in the way that they should go, give them vocational training, you know, teach them, provide access to all the white collar professionals that they need. You know, it's Dr. Trevor, AVT, the Angry Viking Therapist, awesome brother of mine, awesome guy. And he talks about everybody has trauma. Some people have big T trauma, 1 or 2 critical events in their life, and other people have little T trauma, where it's dozens, hundreds of small traumas, micro traumas that build up to, in either case, create a chemical imbalance in your brain where you just simply can't function anymore. These kids have a combination of both. They have big T trauma and little T trauma. And you have to have somebody who's way smarter than I am help them unpack that, so that that baggage doesn't end up destroying their life when they're older. You know, some of these kids, man, again, you know, like, you can't put a boy and a girl in the same room. you can't really put two kids in the same room because they will do shit to each other that they don't even know is wrong, but it was done to them. And so it's a learned behavior. And we've had to have conversations with some of these kids like, hey, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't have sex with other people. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm not having sex. But like, no, that's sex. They didn't even know that that's what that was because they were not of age when that first happened to them. Right. And so it takes somebody who's way smarter than I am to put those kids back together again. And so the trauma therapists, attorneys, house parents are also a critical need when we get to that juncture. And I feel like I'm talking a whole lot, so I'll shut up now. I apologize.
Well, we still got a few minutes.
Chris,
Go ahead.
one second.
Go
Let me
ahead,
add,
Henry, and then T. Go ahead,
I
Henry.
want to add something to what Bear's saying because there's been a few run-ins that I've had with your stuff where, you know, and I wish I was CONUS when this was going on, but every time there's a natural disaster, every time there's a big deal, and when you and I met at first, there's a bunch of stuff going on down south with storms and stuff and tornadoes, right? And you guys, no shit, get in your vehicles, you get a bunch of good rednecks together, and you go and you rebuild shit, right? You go rebuild, you clean stuff up, you help people, you bring tons of food, you don't charge people anything. And that's a big thing I think that I would like for you to have mentioned as well, right? Because that's huge, guys. This is what's missing in our damn country, right? All this bullshit we keep talking about with all the division and Republican and Democrat, all this garbage. Guys, get in your fucking car. Go help Bear fix things.
Yeah, charity's supposed to come from the community, not from the state.
Thank you.
You know,
Yeah.
everybody thinks it's the church, but it's not even the church. It's the community. We're supposed to take care of ourselves, take care of each other. What are you going to say, T?
Well, I mean, just right on that. I mean, not to get all biblical with it, but you know, when we talk about the church, it's where two or three are gathered together. It's not just a building, right? It's about coming together. And one thing I just wanted to say with what Bear is doing, helping children out, I'm not saying the elitist, the evil in this world focuses on children for a reason. All right. So you have to have people like Bear as well, picking up the pieces, because that's what this world is about. You have evil doing bad things to our children. We have schools teaching these kids ridiculous things. And you know, the sickos of this world. This is a sick world, and they focus on children because that's innocence, and that's what's gonna that's the next generation. If you destroy that, then you destroy the country, right? So props to Bear. Man, what you're doing is awesome and is super necessary, 110%, because this world is geared towards destroying children, and
Yes,
so
it is.
you're fighting that.
Let me I've talked a lot this evening and I appreciate you letting me talk, but I want to add one more thing. I'm not special. 100 years ago, what we do with our organizations was just normal. That's just what neighbors did. That's what
Well, it was
good
what the
Americans
village did. It was what the village did.
100%. And so we need more just normal people to do abnormally good shit. It's not that difficult. It's not difficult.
It's not even abnormally good, Bear. It's just the right thing to do at any given moment. You know, like this is a tiny, stupid little thing, but just an example. And one day I pulled 3 people's cars off the side of the road, out of the ditch or whatever. One of them being an Amazon truck, just because I was driving by, there they were. And that's what you're supposed to do. You see somebody in need, you stop and give them a hand, you know. And if it's the entire community in need, then everybody needs to come together. At the moment, our entire country is in need, and we all need to come together. We can't seem to do that. That's a tall order. But if we would come together locally, in our communities, individually, you know, each individual community started coming together, then we could start building that back. But you know, there's a plan in motion that wants to destroy any kind of unity.
Well, and it's the monetization of foster homes, orphanages, and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad to hear about something like the Caleb House because my wife had the empty nest syndrome about 5 years ago, and we tried to go through the Baptist church and adopt a young boy, and the state came in, and I was the #1 NCO for weapons and ammunition. And she's basically said, well, if you want to be a foster parent or if you want to adopt this boy, not to mention that it's going to cost us, up to $50,000 for parenting classes, but you can't have any guns in your house. And I was like,
What?
well, that's something we teach our other young boys is guns are not a plaything. They're not a toy. And all the other boys are just fine with it. So, but anyway, it sounds to me like the Caleb House tries to take all the bureaucracy out of it and they concentrate on the kids. And that's exactly what needs to be the focus, is getting the help to the children and helping them to be kids, because I cannot understand for the life of me. And I was a prison guard. So the lowest human inside the prison system are the sex offenders, because a lot of convicts also have families and things like that. But most of us don't understand how anybody can sexualize children. Children are children. They don't have a sex to me. They're just children.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to minimize them, but they should be allowed to have a childhood before they even talk about anything sexual or anything, being abused in any kind of way. They should, every child in this country, in this world, should have the right to be a child. That's simple.
Hey Bear, you got a few more minutes you can hang out, because I know we're at 9 o'clock, which is an hour, but I still got one other thing I want to bring up for Emery, because I want to get Emery's take on something that's happening right now.
I'm 100% on your timeline, brother, and
Awesome.
I'm probably the reason we ran over, so I apologize.
That's why we had you here. I mean, me and you haven't talked in it's been several years now at this point. I get busy trying to write books and doing all the other crap that I do too. And it's good to catch up. It's good to sit around with guys like this. And Emery, the thing I wanted you to talk about a little bit tonight, so that people here can get a better idea of, is what's happening in Israel with the protests, the Supreme Court stuff, basically the color revolution that's being attempted inside of Israel at the moment. And just so people can get your take as a someone from there, the scoop. So enlighten us a little bit about what's going on there, man.
Let me do this, because this is such a huge topic, right? I will speak to this briefly now, and then what we'll do is I'll just give you a 30,000 foot kind of 2-sentence overview kind of deal. And next week, if there's interest, we can delve into it a little more deeply when we're not at an hour and 2 minutes.
Give us a little more two sentences, just come.
2 sentences plus 3 words.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
the bottom line, let me start this way. The Israeli government has lost its frickin' mind. Okay. And one of the most beautiful things about the way American government is structured, and there's a lot of ugly, don't get me wrong, right? But one of the beautiful things here is the way that checks and balances are set up, right? We have your 3 branches, and then you have your Supreme Court that can call bullshit on any other one, right? Just to be super on the surface. And Israel is not set up that way. There are checks and balances, but there's essentially there's the Knesset, which is parliament, and then there's the Supreme Court, right? So the Supreme Court is the only thing checking these horrible human politician pieces of crap, right? So the short and skinny is Bibi Netanyahu, who's the prime minister again. He's been we don't have term limits, which I think is something that needs to come about. He's been prime minister way too long. The piss has gone to his head, as we say in Hebrew, meaning he's just completely intoxicated by his own power. He is under 4 criminal indictments. I believe 1 went away. So 3, serious indictments, serious court cases that have been going on for years. All of which have to do with him being incredibly corrupt. By the way, I will say this: the truly evil part of him is his wife, right? She is pure evil, and you don't have to believe me. You don't have to take take my word for it. Literally look up a picture of her on Google. You'll be like, yep, I get it. And I'm not even joking. You know how some people you can just see, you're like, that is evil. So anyway, that's the background. The reason I'm getting into that background is because I believe that a lot of what he's doing, a lot of what his government is doing right now, is really, he's kind of building that up to protect himself from going to jail, because he is guilty of a lot of these things, and you know, it's pretty bad. So what they're doing, and the reason for all the uprising, and it's not a violent uprising, it's actually kind of a beautiful example of what people should do when the whole country is fed up with this government BS. But there's been a lot of peaceful protests. Nothing's gotten terribly out of hand. They've blocked roads. They've done some stuff that really kind of messes with daily life, but not violence. So what kicked this off is a couple of separate things. One, the government has decided that what they're going to do with the Supreme Court is they want to limit the Supreme Court, meaning if something is passed in our Congress or our Parliament, the Supreme Court, you know, if it's passed beyond a certain percentage or whatever, and I'll give the actual description and everything next week. Essentially, there's not much the Supreme Court can do about it. They can't just say, "Yep, nope, that's illegal. Nope, don't do it." And in Israel, the Supreme Court, I can say, you know, there's a lot of horrible things you can say about our Supreme Court, but it has been very much the ethical litmus, right, to a lot of the stuff going on. And they have put the kibosh on a lot of things that were like, no, that's not okay, government. So now he's trying to restructure how they admit judges into the Supreme Court, all these things. That's kind of part one. Part two of this is how he's done it in terms of building his coalition, something we can speak about later, but we don't have a two-party system. And so when you get voted in, you take however many mandates, however many votes you got from the people, and you have to pass 61% out of the 120 seats, right? So 61 seats, 51%. You have to pass 61 seats in order to actually have power. So let's say you got 48 votes. Now you have to build a coalition with other parties to get to that 61 plus. And what he always does is he goes with the ultra Orthodox parties who, okay, whatever, you know, you have a religious thing, but what people need to understand is these people are not connected to reality. And I'm not talking about religious people in general. I'm talking about these specific organizations of, they're almost like cults, right? And so what happens is they're very self-interested. They don't have any relationship whatsoever with the rest of the people in the country. And so all the laws they try to oppose on people are just insane. And so, you know, here you have a minister of interior security who never served a day in his life in the military in a country where everybody has to serve. And he didn't serve because he was a religious extremist who went and tried to do stupid things and got himself in trouble with the law. And so the army was like, nope, we don't need pieces of crap like you. That's who's running our police forces now. That's who's making all these decisions. And so it's, you know, it's a severe issue. Another thing, and the reason I bring up these people is because one of the things they've been doing, and there's another minister like that, same exact thing, didn't serve in the military. Military didn't want him because he was a nutbag, who's also in charge of a lot of that stuff. So these people have come out and made statements, never mind if the statements, what meaning was behind them, right? Words have a meaning. And they made statements like, oh, this city that terrorists came out of, we have to go bomb that city and flatten it to the ground. Now, among us, if you say something like that, haha, cool, move on to the next topic, we know what you mean. When you're a politician that holds that kind of power and you make statements like that, I, as a war fighter fighting under your decisions, have to know that you're going to send me to do things that our country's ethical code is built on, right? And so that's created a whole thing inside of the military now where you're having a lot of people, especially in reserve, and I'll explain reserves here later because it's not like it works here. But a lot of reservists and a lot, are saying, nope, I'm not coming in under this government. I will not do this because I cannot take the chance of dropping a bomb on a city because I was told to, full of civilians. That's just not how we work. We have the most ethical, I believe, military on the planet. And I say that with a lot of confidence. And that's what's happening. Again, next week when we have some time, I can get into exactly how that's affecting global security, how that's affecting Israel's security in terms of the shifting balance of power in the Middle East. So there's, that's the basic idea. And he will not come off that tree. He will not come off that tree. So that's as brief as I can make that without getting into details.
Oh, well, that's all I wanted, man. I wanted you to be able to give a little detail, and I'm going through here and getting some of your super chats in, Bear, for your folks that have been dropping the dime on you tonight, helping out your awesome cause. And to you guys watching, like I said, we do another thing after this called On the Rocks. It's not formatted or scripted. None of this is scripted, but not really formatted. We just kind of sit around and shoot the shit for a little bit. And that's over on Rumble. There should be links down below if you're watching this where you can do it. And we're already like an hour and 10 minutes. And if you guys want to, we'll kill this. We'll jump over there for a little while, and we'll continue the fun here because this has actually been a great show. I'm glad you've been here. Yeah. I really appreciate you being here. Is there anything you want to put out real quick? Last thing, I'm gonna have the guys kind of go around the horn here. But is there anything that you want to put out? Something you want folks to see? Where you want them to find you? Any of that? Just go ahead and put it out. He's like, I think I said it all. All right. So, T, you got anything you says that with?
Really? Are you gonna spin that dial to see who gets that bigger smelling?
We're gonna do that in just a minute. I'm gonna let you guys kind of wrap it up, and then we're gonna do our giveaway before we go away. So that's how you keep them here.
Cool.
At the end. So anything else?
No, that's it. I mean, that's Bear. Great job on what you're doing, man. You go above and beyond. It's important. I can't stress it enough. Taking care of kids. How can you put anything above that? So awesome job.
All right, Sue, you got anything you want to close out with?
Yeah, I'm just glad that I got to hear all this, and I can't wait to actually get down there to Texas next October and see it for myself. I'll be there with Emery and Carl. We'll be doing our Patreon course down there, so I'm sure I will make an effort to maybe show up early and bring my nail bag with me. I know a little bit about framing, and I just want everyone to notice that Emery forehead is now a 5-head. So.
All right, guys, here we're gonna do our giveaway real quick. Now, this is an automated thing. We don't get to pick. Bear has no input, neither do we. So we're gonna roll the big wheel here and see who gets to win Bear's iFan, which is the same one I carry on my belt. Actually, the ones I got from you back in the day, Bear. I still told him.
It's a pretty good kit.
Yes, yeah, it's a great kit. It's perfect. There we go. Kentucky Freedom.
Nice.
Is that one of your known entities? One of your
I don't recognize that name. I think that's awesome. That's awesome.
There we go. Kentucky Freedom. You need to, there you go. Shoot an email to russ@angryamerican.com. Or Chris, actually just send it to me so I can coordinate with Bear. Otherwise, Russ is just going to be talking to me. Email chris@angryamerican.com. I'll coordinate with Bear. We will get you your IFAC shipped out. And with that, guys, we're going to close this out. We're going to jump over onto Rumble. Where we'll keep doing this for a little bit longer, as long as everybody wants to hang out. Appreciate you guys being here, and we do this every week, same time with the same clan, except we always have a special guest. This week was Bear, and Bear, we're going to bring you on again for sure, bro, because we need to talk some more. So
love it. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, you guys know the drill. Be good or be good at it. We'll catch you next time.
If you think solar panels are going to save this country, the government's blown sunshine up your butt. Haven't had enough yet? Stick around for the after show. Bolder, grittier, angrier. On the Rocks with Angry American and the gang is coming up next.